All right, so we're going to do a bit of an abbreviated club assembly today. We're going to talk about some outreach services. We're going to talk about some membership stuff. Riley is going to come up and do a survey with us, and then I will do a wrap-up. So we'll try and work through this quickly. So I'm going to ask outreach team, Yasemin, Sherwin, and Dustin, to make their way up here, and we will work through that. As they are coming up, I do want to spend a couple of minutes and talk about some of the things that we do, because we do have a fair number of committees that meet on a regular basis, but we also have a fair number of activities that don't necessarily have a committee associated with them. So I've tried to create a distinction between these on the slide, but there are members of this club working on these, and there are some other things that I didn't get up on the list. But be aware, if you're not engaged in one or more of these, there is always opportunity to get yourself engaged. So, Yasemin.
Okay. Well, shall I start? Outreach Services Committee has two components. One is local for community services, and one is international. And since we are serving the humanity here, we will emphasize what Dustin has to say about his most recent experience in...
Come on.
Yeah, please.
In Kenya.
In Kenya, okay.
Okay, so first of all, thank you for the hats. All right, what was really fun with the hats was having the whole pile of hats there and having all of the Rotary, or the host Rotary Club for the Global Grant, start going through them all. And the Edward Jones ones were very, very popular. So anyway, they started putting all these things, and then they started laughing and saying, "Oh, we're the Edward Jones Club, and we're the Edward Jones," have all these things. And then they say, "What's Edward Jones?" Anyway, I said, when Edward Jones speaks, we listen, or something like that. Isn't that it? No. Anyway, the hats were really popular. What I liked in the hats also was how a lot of times the women would have these really high hairdos, and they'd just plop the hat right on top there. I mean, it'd just be like way up there. Anyway, it was very, very fun. In terms of the Lacey, we're the sponsoring club for the Remba Island Global Grant, and I had a chance to go out to Remba. Actually, not enough time, but Lacey, besides being the sponsor, also the international committee shared in a support project to the grant. Most grants are capital or stuff investment heavy. They dig a well, they build a latrine, create a water system. But what Lacey did was Lacey participated with our Thirst and Water Committee, and we pay the salary, starting this past November, pay the salary for what we call the Rotary Interim Manager. So for the first time in this grant process that has been going on for many years, there's an actual full-time paid person with the community of Remba Island who is trying to help implement the processes that are necessary, the hygiene education that's necessary, and the community unity that's necessary for them to actually get the full benefit of the clean water and the improved sanitation. So as an example, for the first time in the 5 years, he was able to bring together all of the religious community, the Muslims, the Christians, all different denominations, all types, in one room saying, how is it that your people, your participants are handling the water and the sanitation in order to hear it. He's also organizing voluntary, it was a great word to hear in Kenya, that they volunteer for things. Anyway, on the island, these days where he gets the community together, the leaders, and they then get, I don't know how you say it, they then promote volunteers to do trash burning days. The island is like a trash island after however many years of bottles and litter and bags, and they're doing all this trash burning. This individual just did this on his own because he understands that hygiene is not simply washing your hands and washing your food, but that actual hygiene education is an environmental issue at every single level. And I'm sure eventually it will even get to where the goats get to go and the chickens get to go. But for now, it's burning trash. So anyway, that was the absolute highlight of the time on Remba Island, and it's really Lacey that has done it. And I'm hoping that it actually becomes a model for many, many more global grants, because it has been so effective. Anyway, I'll just stop there. Lots to say.
Can I just ask, is he Kenyan?
He's a Kenyan.
Okay.
He's a Kenyan man that's been trained in water and sanitation, and he's paid $500 a month, and he's pursuing his master's degree. I'm sorry, what do we want time-wise?
Yeah, that's okay.
Okay.
It's a wonderful idea. How did the idea to hire somebody to do that come up?
When I was there and the team was there last year, it became so apparent that this island that has essentially fishermen and fisher people that are busy are not going to be, and a population greater than that of the city of Rainier or Tenino is not going to be able to handle an entire utility system of water and sanitation on a voluntary basis when they have time. And so there needed to be somebody there in order to teach it, to learn it, to try to get it functioning, so that what the hope is that he will learn and work the system, will develop an operations manual, and then after that, then the WASH committee on the island will hire their own WASH manager and pay that person. He'll train them and then step out and become a periodic mentor.
So projects like those make international committee involvement indeed very exciting and very worthwhile. So actually, I wasn't sure whether Dustin will be here today, and he happened to be here, luckily. And I had some, how do I change it? Okay. Some information about the kinds of projects the International Committee is involved in. And actually, the priorities are the same as Rotary service priorities, and they're peace and conflict prevention and solution, or disease prevention and treatment, or water and sanitation, and maternal and child health, basic education and literacy, and economic and community development. If you find any kind of project that is relevant to one of these topics, it can be easily part of the International Committee's commitments. Which one of these does Dustin's project fall into?
This is a test?
That's a test, whether you're listening to me or not.
Water and sanitation.
Okay, which one?
All of them.
Basically, I mean, at least 3 of them.
Water and sanitation.
Does peace and conflict prevention resolution apply? Disease prevention, water sanitation? Yes, the first 3, and in a kind of indirect way, the last 3 as well. So once you're involved, once you get into a project like this with such scope, it just covers all the bases. And how do you find partners? Through, again, networking, through cooperating with other clubs, and expanding your own network, and going through the websites, Rotary websites, finding similar projects. There's always room for improvement and involvement. And again, for the next year or for the ongoing committee, you can set a deadline for any project and see what kind of budget you need and how you're going to measure your progress, in what kind of support that you're planning, and everything is out there for you to decide. It's in your discretion to the level of involvement that you would like to be part of. So I think my time is up. We have a major part of our service, community services here as well, as far as our outreach services are concerned. And Sherwin Klubler is taking care of that committee. She is the chair, and please, let's hear him.
So before I talk about community needs, Dustin, how much is the budget for international committee? How much do we get for that?
It's around $10,000.
Around 10,000. So I want to just briefly, I'm on that committee as well. And one of the things that we did in this committee was several years ago, we started sponsoring 2 girls in Guatemala for their school. Guatemala has the second highest illiteracy rate in this whole hemisphere. They're behind Haiti. And in 2007, there was this organization that said they were going to try to educate young women in Guatemala. And young individuals in Guatemala, less than 3% finished high school. So there was a group that said they were going to try to educate a whole generation of women in Guatemala. And they started with 15 girls. We started sponsoring 2 of those girls in that program. So 2007, 2000 now, and 16. That program has now grown to 240 young women. Of those first 15 girls, 87% of them finished high school. They are now, this program is now expanded. At first they were going to just sponsor them through middle school, then it got into high school, and now they're sponsoring these young women into college and different professions. So it is now up to 240 women, and 95% of those women that are accepted into this program stay in high school. So that is, again, another one of these projects. It's sort of like Project Amigo, which we have, but this one is in Guatemala, and we've been an active part of that. So that's, again, part of Dustin and this international group, which is really, that's on a smaller scale, but I think is just really significant to take on a whole generation of a country and say we're going to educate women in that. So the Community Needs Committee, we get about $12,000, and we distribute that to Lacey projects and projects in Thurston County primarily. We focus on senior citizens, on children, on people with need, and the kinds of programs at the time that I've been chairperson have been like the Boys and Girls Club gets a fairly significant chunk of our money each year. It seems like the Free Medical Clinic and Free Mental Health Clinic, Safe Place, Pizza Clutch, a number of different organizations like that. We've changed a little bit the ask. We used to get just letters saying, would you contribute to this? And they were sort of general letters, and now we've made it much more specific. We want them to give, first of all, make sure that they're a nonprofit 501(c), and then we ask that they tell us what the project is they want the money for, and specifically how much money they are asking for. So we have now, we just voted on something this week, money for the, I think we had a presenter here a few months ago talking about starting a parenting program at the Lacey Boys and Girls Club, and that's going to be a pilot project, and we're going to sponsor that. So that was $2,000. So we still have some money left. We have, I don't know if we have enough of the people who are on the Community Needs Committee. Would you raise your hands or just stand up? There's Dustin and Jasmine. We don't have as many of them here today, but there's about 7 or 8. We're always open to having more people in that. And and again, I said last week or a couple of weeks ago, I would encourage you to get people that you know to submit requests for this, because my understanding, and Diane, do you know how much money we have left in that?
I'm sorry, no. But I will email it to you so you can share it with your committee.
Okay, so I think we probably have about half this money still left that we need to spend before the Duck Dash. And again, we get all of our money for this committee from the Duck Dash. And so if you know of projects or that fit into that category of community needs, health, elderly, homeless, children, please encourage them to write to the Community Needs Committee. Any questions that you have? Okay, thank you.
So we're going to move on to another subject now. I'm inviting Don up to talk about membership, and I want to publicly thank Don for stepping up a few months early to step in and fill the shoes for membership. I need to go back and get some change.
Yes, you do.
I think I have the easiest job because you're my membership on my committee, every one of you. I think most of us forget that everybody sitting in here today with a badge at one point in time was asked by a Rotarian to be a Rotarian. And if it wasn't for, I owned a restaurant, and 30 years ago, a Rotarian asked me to go to lunch at another restaurant. It seemed odd to me, but I can't imagine what my last 30 years would have been like had he not asked me to that lunch. A shout out to you. Part of the reason I stayed and kept going to lunch for 30 years at another restaurant, they raised Steelhead, the Rotary Club. They had a student exchange, and they were going to end polio. And I want to stay until we end polio. So, I'm asking all of you, and I personally gave every one of you a sheet of paper today. And the older members here, it's not too early to think about replacing yourself. Someday we won't. Someday we won't be able to make it to these meetings. And it's an unfortunate fact. And they could be people you go to church with, friends, neighbors, son-in-laws, daughter-in-laws, daughters, sons, anybody who you think would benefit. If you look back in your time in this club and you've had smiles, you have memories, you enjoyed your time here, share that with somebody. Let them come and decide whether they want to join in. Younger members. Being a member, you can propose a member. That's part of being a member. And that's what we want to see. You will be the old people sitting at these tables 20 years from now. And you want to be here with your friends. Some of us were invited by friends. Some found friends once they got here. And that's what, as a red badge, that doesn't prevent you from inviting friends. You want to make this the club you want to be in 20, 30 years from now. Interactors. Your club has the same problems we do. You have a 4-year timeout where your membership turns over. You go back to your club and think about inviting. You were Rotarians. When I was our Interact head at the club before, I always treated the Interactors as Rotarians. And hopefully it doesn't end in high school. There's a college program for Rotaractors, and there's no age down limit, I think 18 maybe, to be a member of a Rotary Club, depending on what you get into, if you own your business. So don't discount. You have that to go back to your club. There's a huge attrition rate in Interact, even more so here than in our club. Women. We need more women so the guys don't get fined for sitting at tables without women. I'm old enough to have been in the club before we had women in our club. And we missed all those, I missed those fights that we had, but women brought vitality and energy and a whole new outlook, and it's been nothing but good for the clubs. And so women also, invite other women that you know, that you want to share this experience with them. So basically, I want you to keep that piece of paper. I want you to fold it up, put it in your wallet, put it in your purse, walk around with it for a week. And people you meet, people you see, businesses you deal with, you have somebody putting a fence in for you, somebody doing your roofing, somebody at your church that you feel would benefit from this. Don't keep Rotary a secret. The vitality and health of this club depends on membership. And God knows, this last year, there's been a heavy toll on us. We're currently at 99 members. Our proposed strategic action plan for this year was 110, and 2018 is 120. We're behind the curve. And having come from a club that when I joined it was 56 members, 30 years later was down to about 30. And I'll tell you, on a light day with 30 membership, you had 17 people showing up. So you never want to see that death spiral in a club. So to keep your vitality, you bring in new members. What we do here every week is to become the best version of ourselves by practicing charity and kindness. And in the words of Mark Twain, kindness is the language that the blind can see and the deaf can hear. So ask somebody to join. Ask a friend, ask a neighbor, ask a stranger. If you enjoy what you do here, let them help you enjoy that. Thank you.
Don, do we have to carry it around for a week if we got it filled out already?
No, you turned it into me. I've asked, thank you very much, Steve.
Show off.
My committee.
Dare ya.
This was not prearranged. And I'm the director of membership, the head of the membership committee. I just asked him today, and he most graciously accepted. It's Brandon LeMay. So either me or Brandon. I'm going to talk to Dan and Mary Lacey if we're going to have a fireside meeting this year. They weren't here today, so I don't have anything on that, but usually we do. So thank you.
Thanks, John. You ready?
Yeah.
Come on up, Riley. So on your table are not party favors. They're actually little voting machines. And so we're going to do an exercise with the club that we did with the board.
I've already voted.
You've already voted?
A bunch of times.
I'm not sure what I'm late. Tell me when you're ready. So everybody needs to pick up a voting machine, and I'll say this again, and you need to put it down before you leave the meeting because they're not ours to take away. And we'll walk through. Do you want to walk through the instructions or?
Is there a way? There we go.
Yes.
I think this is thanks to President John. We had the presentation, I think it was with our county prosecutor back in September 2016 about his passion for this idea of measuring hope. And so President John thought it'd be great to run this survey process past the board. And now obviously the next question is how does the board compare to the club? And then the cool thing is then we'll see how we compare relative to other clubs. So anyway, we'll turn it over.
All right, so you've got instructions about how they do this? This is a well-oiled machine, as you can tell. So first instruction is you have to push the button.
Not yet. I've done that.
All right, so we're going to pose a series of questions, and then we'll ask you to vote. So what state are you in?
This is just a tester.
Where do we aim it?
Oh, actually, you apologize. Yeah, it's just right up here, right at John.
Right at me.
It only works
Yes.
once, right?
Yeah, it just works once. Yeah, if the light flashes, you're good. So.
Go ahead, Lynette.
I picked this up during the presentation. I was kind of thinking, well, I wonder what that is. So I pressed the button for the interview test. How do you clear it? So it's.
I know it's automatically clears. Once,
He does.
Once for so
You don't have control over that. He does.
Okay.
So you're good to go.
So let's see. The answer is.
Wow. You guys are more awake. Okay. So the question is, I can think of many ways to get out of a jam, going all the way from definitely false to strongly agree. Register your votes. How many of these do we have out there?
It's probably we've got about 70 folks here today.
We'll see.
Again, pointed
Pointed at me.
Good. The light should flash when
My head starts flashing. You're doing it too often.
All right.
Closing note.
Good.
Very good. All right, next question. I energetically pursue my goals. How we doing?
All right.
All right? And the answer is it? Okay. I feel tired most of the time.
And this is again thanks to a grant from Homeland Security, so we're able to. Completely anonymous.
That's why I didn't give him the microphone. And the answers are somewhat true. Can we segment this? There are lots of ways around any problems.
Thank you folks are getting the hang of it now. It's coming faster.
Good.
All right, and good.
Very good. I am easily downed in an argument.
So if you push twice, you get double.
Nice try.
It registers whatever the first button you push. So. All right.
Can you change your answer?
And what we'll do is,
I know that, 'cause I-
this will all be consolidated into one number, so these will be aggregated.
I think of many ways to get the things in life that are important to me.
Okay. 3, 2, 1. All right.
Very good. I worry about my health.
All right, 3, 2, 1. All right. And
Even when others get discouraged, I know I can find a way to solve a problem.
all right. And
Yeah, not surprising. Past experiences have prepared me well.
Three, two, one.
I've been pretty successful in life.
Good.
2 more questions.
All right, 3, 2, 1. Jeez.
It's all over the place.
I want to be part of that 17% that don't care.
Yeah, I don't care.
Meet the goals that I set for myself.
All right, 3, 2, 1. All right, good.
Very good. So do you want to say anything at all about what this is? So we will be back in front of you summarizing the results and talking a little more about where this is going, but there's a growing body of knowledge around the science of hope and the importance of that to success in individuals and in communities. So this is sort of the first step into this. So we're not going to leave you with a whole lot of detail about this today, but we will come back and do more so you better understand what you just did. The point being, and I'm guessing these scores reflect probably a higher than normal score just based on that I've seen in the past. So Riley is doing this. You may know that our prosecuting attorney, John Thunheim, is a big advocate of this and looking to advance this work in our community. So you'll be hearing more about this as we go forward. So I want to say thank you for that. I want to say thank you. Maybe we can give a round of applause to the individuals who have been up here today. I'm always impressed about how much good work is going on in this club and in this community. We often don't take time to share what we're doing with each other. So, and this was just the tip of the iceberg of the kinds of things that are going on. So I'm going to cut this off. Mike Marone is just chomping at the bit to get up here and do fellowship. And I've got a whole lot of bills.